Rain or shine, it's here to make you laugh. It's the Steamboat Comedy Podcast. It's the Steamboat Comedy Podcast. And now your host, Kyle Ruff.
Yes, sir. All right, well, welcome everyone to the Steamboat Comedy Podcast. I am Kyle Ruff with you yet again. My microphone is about to fall over. Joining me is Jared Morrill. Say hello.
What's going on, guys?
And joining us via the magic of the internet is friend of the show, our buddy from Chicago, Mr. Pat Treuer. Say hello, Pat.
Yeah. Happy to be here, boys. Jared and Kyle, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man. It's great to see you again. It's been a while. I haven't seen you since I passed through old Chi-Town. God, that was
that was cool. I was thinking about that, man. That you drove 5 hours to do an open mic.
Yeah.
I was like, wow, man. I don't know many people who would do that, but you did, and you did great, man. I still laugh a lot thinking about your story of getting beat up by the Native American that you called a pussy.
Yeah, the punchline is it turns out he wasn't one. And it was great, too.
He was not a pussy. One of my favorite punchlines I heard last year.
Thanks, man. It's a true story, unfortunately. I have the scars to prove it. And it was great, too, because I have some family who lives around Chicago, and they got to come out and see the set and everything, too. So that was a lot of fun, man. The Joke at the Oak was a great time.
Yeah, man. Well, we got to get you. Well, hopefully you're out. Well, we'll see what happens with all this, but we were picking up some nice momentum. So since you were out, we changed the layout of the room. So we moved the stage to the side of the room, and it created this nice, like almost in the round feeling. And now it feels like an actual comedy club.
Nice.
Like, as opposed to just a back room bar show.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy because everyone is within 3 rows of the stage, and we'll cram like 70 are in that room. We'll cram 70 people in that room. Or at least we used to be able to. Nice. And so I'm pumped when we're allowed to get going again because we were really hitting a lot of steam. It felt good, man. So it'd be great to have you back out if we're able to do shows, whatever that looks like.
Definitely. And I actually, I was really happy, not only with how my experience was there, but a couple guys from the Chicago area after the show approached me and messaged me afterwards and were like, hey, like, what are the chances I could get a mic spot if I come out to Steamboat? And I said, come on out, so it was great.
Yeah.
Great for networking.
That's what it's all about, man, right? It's about like just helping people, making things easier for people, right? I think when I started doing this, I felt everything was such of a competitive nature, and then I realized that it's not. There's enough for everybody, and like, we're all in this together. And I know that's a very popular phrase right now, but in comedy, it's true. It's like, just make it easy. It's hard enough, but when you're traveling, to just have connections or just something as easy as like just vouching for someone, like being a reliable performer. Like, yeah, they're good for 5 minutes. Cool. Yeah. Great. Like, it makes it easier for everybody and just makes life a lot better, really. So that makes me happy to hear that you had some comics reach out to you afterwards.
Yeah, no, it was great. I had a great time, and I'd love to come back. I same way. I was kind of, when we first started doing this, the idea of like always being in competition with everyone else you see seemed a little bit daunting, But I felt like for the most part, most comedy circles we've been in, it's been nothing but supportive.
Yeah, no, I've had actually a great time with like other people. And I haven't been doing it that long, but I mean, everyone seems super open to have anyone else in, even if you're brand new or something. People are just like, yeah, just try it, just do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of cool, man. It's nice having a community like that.
Yeah, and we met. Sean Patton was passing through town, and so we hit him up and we're like, hey, you want to come do a podcast with us? And he was like, sure. And he came over and was hanging out, and now we're like buddies, and he couldn't have been a nicer guy.
Seriously, him and his girlfriend Caitlin were great.
Yeah, both very funny, both super nice people.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's like another connect we've got like now in New York, hopefully. So like knowing you in Chicago, and now we got some friends in Denver. It feels good. We got a lot of people who always are. Well, we're always talking about setting up things where people can come here, do a weekend skiing, and do some comedy with us,
Dude,
and then maybe we go other places.
Yeah.
I can't wait to do that. It's for me because I'm if you remember, I'm born and raised in Colorado, right?
Yes,
I've been
sir.
in Chicago for 5 years, and so my plan really before all this happened was to start splitting time between here and Colorado, just because of what I've built here with Joke at the O, which is a brag. It's an outright brag. It's become one of the best independent shows in Chicago.
Heck yeah, man!
Yeah.
Really proud of because it was a ton of work, right? And so it started as just an open mic and then became a fundraiser, a show where we would actually sell tickets and we would 100% of the ticket proceeds would go to a different charity. And we started getting up to like $1,000 to $2,000 raised per show. So
wow.
I was super excited about that. But I had that, but I want to be home. I don't want to be stuck here. Like Chicago's not that great of a place. Like especially for me, like, and it's becoming so evidently clear now with nothing to do, right? This city is based on drinking and eating, like great foods, great bars, all that, but it's non-existent right now. And like people are like, wow, this place really does suck. Especially Colorado where there's so much to do. So I'm excited to come back. I'm actually flying back on Friday for the weekend. I got a buddy going through a second divorce. And he had to move out of the house. So that works out pretty sweet for me because then he rented a place. So I got the room in there. So I got cheap rent. And then I got my girlfriend here. So I'll just be splitting time back and forth. And with the goal of by 2021, spending like 3 weeks out of the year at home in Colorado, 1 week here just for big shows. Because I can't remember if I'd let you know, but I started a business of putting on shows, essentially pop-up shows, and then also stand-up shows for private events and corporate groups.
Yeah.
So I want to start building that in Colorado and Denver, and essentially I want to build a couple more shows around the Denver Front Range area.
Yeah.
Where it's just like fun, right? To just go and perform because I know there's a need there. And man, I'm so excited. I tell you, the biggest bummer for me of all of this, and this is such a first world position to have on what's happening, but it was actually that I couldn't come out and go to your show at the theater, man.
Oh yeah, no, that's a bummer. We talked about that briefly on the last podcast. We actually just we hit up our old mutual buddy Mark Masters the other day to do a podcast. He's in extreme isolation. He said he hasn't like talked to a person in like 2 months.
That's an idiot. Dude put himself in self-isolation, not feeling sick at all before the shelter in place was hit. And he's like, yeah, I just hit like 14 days. And then the shelter in place took effect, so he had to double down on it. He's like, I'm taking this so seriously. Seriously, he does not. He's in fine shape. He's like, I don't know. You're like, he's definitely just doing it so he can tell people that he did it. Oh, I did it for 45 days. Self-shelter. You're like, you're an idiot.
He is. He's a bike racer, so maybe that's his thing. He's gotta have a longer distance in quarantine as well as.
He just wants to tell people he did it. That's the whole reason.
Yeah, right. It's like me with how many cans of SpaghettiOs I've eaten. 26.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I bet. Probably 48 by tomorrow.
He's doubling down.
50. Let's go with around 50.
Dude, tell me about the old Chief Theater, man, because I was just looking online and it just looked like an awesome space. And
oh, it's great.
Walk me through what the show would have been like, dude. Let's play fantasy for a minute.
We've got a full show recorded that we did there last summer. It's on our YouTube page, or if you go to steamboatcomedy.com, you can see it. But the Chief is a great venue, man. It's got about 150-ish seats,
give or take, yeah.
Real wide stage, good lighting, and it's actually funny. I perform more there than anywhere besides, I guess, like Barley open mics. But
yeah, you mean like big shows? Yeah,
well, not only big shows, but I got the spots at the super fun shows that I would normally do in the summer. There's a variety show they do here, and I usually do 5 to 10 every time they do one of those. And I love that place, man. It's got a great energy. The guy who runs it promotes it well. So we always, big time. We sell out when like some idiot like me is the de facto headliner. So we bring in somebody like you who's actually funny. Maybe bringing in extra chairs, So,
man,
and we did actually. The one show we had so many people trying to get in that they brought in extra chairs and we were putting them around the side. We had about 175 people in there.
Dude, that was one of my best memories of comedy from last year. Was your show
at Butcher Knife? Yeah.
Yeah, dude, it was so awesome. I had so much fun. And you guys did such a great job of putting that on. Such a cool space, and just everyone was in it. Like there was no one being distracting. Everyone was in, paying attention to the show. Such a cool setup.
Yeah. Yeah. We'd like to go back there. Unfortunately, the one promoter girl who worked there that helped us set up, she's not there anymore, so we kind of got to reach out again. But,
I don't think it'd be that hard.
It wouldn't be that hard, but yeah, I was setting up the back of a brewery with like all the big metal tanks in the background and stuff. Man, it was a lot of fun.
A giant amputator
flag
in the back with the guy with the chainsaw.
You gotta get back on that. There was a while where we were desperately trying to get that brewery to sponsor us all the time, and we just do all these shameless plugs. And on that show we've got at the Chief Theater, there's a part about halfway through where Miles, I remember Miles, the bigger guy, he just goes like, "Man, I'm really thirsty. I can't even talk right now."
That joke just made me really, really thirsty. Like, I'm pretty parched. And when I'm pretty parched,
I think you need a Butcher Knife Amputator IPA.
Butcher Knife Amputator IPA. Official beer sponsor of Steamboat Comedy.
he just chugs it in front of everybody.
Wait, didn't we throw a can at you?
That was so fun.
Did you throw a can at me?
Really
yeah, you did.
You guys do a great job. It's really impressive to see what you guys are doing.
Thanks, man.
I remember when I was in the podcast studio, in the Steamboat Comedy podcast studio, and I think in the podcast I asked you like, well, how many times have you done it? You said something to the effect of, "This is our 6th time." Like 6th show, and you go, "No, 6th time." And I don't know if you remember this, but I looked at Mark and I was like, "See, they're doing sellouts and only doing 6 times. This is unbelievable."
Yeah,
this is incredible. These guys are doing something right here. 6th time, you're getting people selling out 100 people to come. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. We've got a great community here. They're really into it, and we've got a lot of talented people, and we're all flying by the seat of our pants, man. And it's
really?
So far it's going really well, though. All through the winter, we got it up where we were doing open mic once a week, every week, at 3 different venues that we'd rotate through. And then shows on top of that. We had a big one where I invited a guy out from New York, Robbie Bernstein. Shout out to Robbie the Fire. And he came out. We sold out a big show there. If you go like on our website, you can see there's a picture of the crowd going out from the stage. And it's just packed to the gills. We packed out the one music bar that's downtown, Schmiggity's. I don't know if you ever passed through there, but yeah, but it's awesome. It's been going really well. You gotta check out the jingle. We got a jingle for a podcast. My buddy's a musician.
Gotta have a jingle, man. You gotta have a jingle.
Gotta have the jingle.
It'll be at the beginning of this episode.
Get people on board quick, man.
Yeah. Well, it's great. I mean, like, we're doing well. You're doing well. I think that just despite everything that's going on, the state of comedy right now is great, or at least it has been for us, you know?
Yeah.
Try to keep it going.
Yeah, it's, we have to adapt. At first, have you done any Zoom shows? Like, not like this, but like a comedy show, like stand-up show or whatever?
No, we haven't done one yet. We've watched a few.
Yeah.
And they've been fun. We're kind of like getting people there. The problem with doing comedy in Steamboat is that I try to put together these shows and I've only got about 6 or 8 people that I'm kind of like, hey, so you want to do this? And if like half of them are like, I don't want to, then we don't have half the comedy community. So I got all these horses that I'm riding to death left and right. But so we haven't done that yet, but we have talked about it. We've talked about doing some kind of like even just like sketches and things. My girlfriend's here and she's really smart and knows history, so we're gonna try to get her hammered and do a drunk history episode, I think.
I mean, yeah, we definitely like are forced to think in a new way, right? Because the first one this happened, I was like, I'm not going to do any Zoom shows. And then I got talked into one, and I was like, all right, better than not performing.
Yeah.
It's a little awkward, right? Because everyone's on mute, and so to signal laughing, they go like this. They wave their hands. So people are listening. They wave their hands, right? Their computer screen's on mute, so you just see all these faces and these hands by their faces rocking back and forth, and that signifies laughter. And so I did that, and I was like, all right, I think it's okay. And then I started, when the shelter in place happened, I started doing an Instagram live every night called Comedians in Quarantine Having Cocktails. And I started just talking. There's just a conversation over Instagram live with comedians here in Chicago.
Yeah, I've seen a couple.
Yeah, it was a blast. I got blacked out on the first episode. I'm like, I can't do that every night. I got one or two drinks while I do it. And then I started thinking, like, I could maybe expand out and talk to comedians that I've never even met before, but are good comedians. And so I actually just started like looking at the comedians on Dry Bar.
Oh yeah.
Dry Bar's been posting a lot of the content, and it's comedians who are great, very talented comedians, but like aren't like, I wouldn't say superstar level, but it's like you can tell they're like just at the cusp. So I started reaching out to them, people I've never met before, just through Instagram, right? Just sending direct messages on Instagram, and all of a sudden people were saying, yeah, we'd love to do it. Sounds like fun. And so I started talking to all these comedians, and then there's a comedian in Denver. His name's Josh Blue. He's one of my favorite of all time. And he was a guest. So for me, that was awesome because he's one of my comedy heroes.
Nice.
Being a Colorado native and a very successful comedian. And he was on, and I might have him on again next week. But it's like all of a sudden, like now I'm getting more people on. Other comedians that are at higher levels are starting to say, yeah, we'll do this show, because I just like post a picture of it, like, hey, I had a great time with this comic. And so for me, that's been a lot of fun. And then I realized I can use Instagram Live to do shows, like, because I can bring in multiple people. So I've started to do shows where it's kind of like my own personal comedy show, right? Where it's like this FaceTime with a comedian, and there's a bit of interaction, but then people are actively watching and they comment and such while they're watching. And it's been great. Like, we've gotten some great feedback. I've done 3 of them now. And I'm doing a fundraiser this Friday at Real Funny Pat on the old Instagram. And it's for Lakeview Pantry, a food pantry here that's helping out a lot of people with food. And so I've got some comedians from around the nation and from the community here. We just say, hey, if you want, donate, the link is in my bio on Instagram. You can donate whatever you think the show is worth. And so it's been fun to just do that. And like, essentially I can just dick around and be me, right? Like sounds silly, but on stage, I was just starting to find my voice. And I'm able to carry that through of like totally not giving a fuck of what other people like. For me, this is me. Like, I'm having a great time and I don't give a shit. Like, you want to have a good time, join it. But if not, I don't care. And I wouldn't anticipate, obviously, like none of us anticipate anything, but that I would be doing stuff on Instagram Live. And a year ago, I was shitting all over Instagram. Right?
Now you hopped on the train.
Yeah, I am, and it's fantastic, right? Instagram, like, it's probably the most widely used thing right now in the world, and it's actually like found a great tool. It's a great tool for comedy right now, given the state that we can't perform for people in person.
Yeah, no, it works well. It's easy to use. A lot of people have it. We kind of, for our social media, I update our Instagram way more than I update our Facebook page. I think we have a Twitter.
Shit, I barely use my Twitter.
Yeah, shit. Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's great. That's great.
How has the boat been these past couple of weeks, man?
Surprisingly pretty mellow. Like, I mean, we had the stay-at-home order, but you could still like go on hikes, or you could still go sit by the river, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's lots to do outside.
So, like,
helpful.
It was kind of weird because you had the stay-at-home order, but it wasn't really that strict. There was a couple guys that got arrested, but aside from that, like, it's not really strict here.
No, and I mean, there's just not that much to do here besides go to bars and stuff, I guess. And a lot of them are actually doing a lot of things to go. So a lot of people are still kind of going out of the places they would go, and like supporting it, but they're taking that and they're going home and doing whatnot. And we're kind of, it's good most of the time. Sometimes it's a pain, but we have a house here full of 7 people.
6 now.
6 now.
One moved yesterday.
But so we always got something to do. We set up a volleyball court in the backyard, and we're messing around. And weather's been nice. It's starting to turn into summer.
Yeah.
So we're doing a good job keeping entertained, And there's rumors that things are going to start opening up a little bit more here soon.
Yep.
Which is probably good because we compared to other places, I get why they would do those kind of shutdowns when you paint with a broad brush kind of thing. But we've only had, I think, 20 cases or 30 cases total in this county.
It's 56 total, and I think there's only like 6 active at the moment.
And there was only 2 deaths. One was over 80. One was over 100 years old.
Yeah, so
it's not like it's taken out the youth or anything.
Yeah, we've been pretty solid.
Yeah, so it's pretty safe here, and people are obviously still going to be freaked out, but
not a lot of unfit people in Steamboat.
That's true.
I think I might be like one of the most unfit people.
You might be. And you're not doing too, and you're the healthiest guy in your family.
I am. Yeah.
Such a great way you can get up on stage. That'd be your immediate self-deprecator. I'm the unfit person in Steamboat.
I might have to do that.
Say, my name is Jared, and I'm the fattest guy in Steamboat. I'm 15 pounds overweight.
Yeah, right.
I'm Midwest skinny, but I'm Steamboat fat.
Yeah, right.
That's legit, though.
Yeah.
Dude, tell me about how. So with running the shows, man, any fun, let's say fun, wild, stupid things that you've experienced, man?
Oh yeah. We were kind of starting to talk about that before, but we were a little bit too early in the process. We haven't had anything too crazy still. No. Like not compared to what you were talking about in our last podcast, but I mean we've had some people come up and just completely bomb, some like outsiders. Let's see. There's that one guy who comes over mics and he's got that weird little chin goatee.
Oh, fucking
what's his name?
Vito or something? He has a different name every time.
I don't know. He's a weird guy, but he'll go up there and he signs up every time. He's got balls. And he'll just tell the campiest.
He'll tell like campy ski and snowboard jokes.
Yeah, he had a few that just made me laugh because they were so painful. It was one about like Yogi Bear and picnicking. God, no, I've got it recorded, so maybe if I find it, I'll splice it in here. But oh my God, I about died. That poor guy was so awkward. A few minutes ago, looks like a fun gentleman. So. Get it for the debut of Mr. W. Dope. Dope? I'll let you say it. All right, he's got it.
Uh-oh. I can't turn off any of my jokes because I don't remember any of them. So, no, I got a tattoo joke. So the worst tattoo you could get in prison, or tattoos you can get in prison, would be a vagina over your mouth and asshole. Because it'd be too likely to be penetrated. All right. Oh, here we go. Here's a good one for this guy. All right. So I thought it was important to pack a parachute before I went on an airplane. But they wouldn't let me on with a real parachute. So what I did was put ecstasy inside of a napkin, and then grounded that up, twirled that around, and then just swallowed that. And I parachuted that on my way to the airplane, and I felt great about it. Anything that could have happened. All right. This is going great. All right. So I saw the movie Powder Horse. I was just wishing there would be a whole lot more female skiers in it, but you know. All right. So I went to Grand Junction to go at these tacos from Taco Party. But I was assuming that there'd be a lot more women there, and there actually wasn't. So I'm like, what's going on? Is this some sort of sausage party? So, you know how they sell like nut tacos at the store here? I think they need to clarify if they're vegan or not, because I assume they were, but it's kind of disturbing to think if they're not. Like, what kind of nut tacos are they serving? Jeez. All right. Oh, there's other type of nut tacos apparently. Sounds like a lot of background noise. I'm gonna let it go before I can't find my other jokes. So. I was gonna say whatever happened. That's what happened. That's what we did. You gotta prepare before you preparate. All right.
Hey, give me a shot. Hey, this shit ain't easy, man. Give it up for W Dope for coming up here and giving me a shot. There's some gems in there. Make it work. All right. So,
but nothing at the shows. And let's go Mike aside, but just any issues at the shows or things that you come across where like people ask you questions like, I don't know what to do.
Oh man, the venues have all been mostly good. We did have, I'm trying to think. I guess the first show we did at the press was weird because everyone showed up, but it was apparently just a bunch of people who hadn't seen each other in a while, is what everyone kept saying.
Yeah.
And so there was just like, we were up on this stage just talking into this, like at this big mass of people who were all just talking to each other.
Yeah,
so it was
no
like,
one was
hello.
listening.
Hello, and they just it was like so many people jammed together. It was like a blob.
And the volume on the speakers was like way too low when we started. So like the first I think I went up first, and the first 3 people that went up, you couldn't hear shit.
Uh-huh.
Right.
So like on top of all the yelling, the speakers aren't loud enough.
Yeah.
Oh, great! That's the best.
Something like that. I mean, we got that ironed out luckily, and then there was
the only other one I can think of is that Schmigs when that girl was just yelling about cocaine in the front row.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, we know who that girl was.
No. It was the one next to her.
Oh, it was one. Oh well, yeah, that one too.
You had a girl railing lines during the middle of the show.
No, she just kept yelling about cocaine.
Like she rolled in like right when it started, and it was still kind of like I just got up on stage and was like, "Hey, welcome to the show, everyone," and she was just like, "Wow!" Like standing up in front of me and like doing this kind of thing.
Oh,
so
boy.
it's like, oh boy.
How'd you handle it? What'd you do?
Well, I knew who the person was, so I kind of just gave her like a wicked death stare, and that took it down a notch or two.
Yeah, someone did. Was that when Corey was here?
That was Robbie. Robbie was here.
Yeah, it was Robbie.
Robbie was making fun of him.
Yeah, Robbie just immediately was on that shit.
I was gonna start ripping into him, but I was so paranoid about time on my set because I was afraid that everyone was gonna go over, and we had like a strict out at this place because there's a band after us.
Okay.
And so I, instead of making fun of him, I opted for an awkward stare. And going back, I would have just completely lit him up.
Yeah, that's just something that you got to learn when you go through and do the shows, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was like I asked that because I had several times where people did things when I was first starting the show, but I had no idea what to do. And sometimes I totally just froze up and was just like, and the next comedian, and like, get off stage, like, fuck, why didn't I actually like try and work with that?
Right.
And I had to finally realize, like, no, like I need to stay in the pocket and just like go, like work with it. Like, don't pretend like it's not happening. I need to address it because for a while I kind of got in this little bad habit of not addressing what was going on. But you have to. And then, like, of course, the first comedian who got on and acknowledged what was happening, uproarious laughter. Right?
Yeah, it's like, almost like a build-up at that point because they're waiting for somebody to say something, right?
Yeah. You know, when you're the host of the show, you're the voice of the audience and the comedians in one. So it's like finding that. But yeah, we had this year. At the shows, we had a woman who got this woman was a professional guest of mine, right? So I'll invite potential customers to the shows to say, hey, come check out a show. You can see what it's all about, which is great for me. It makes things so much easier. This woman came, she showed up guns blazing. She was hammered when she walked in, and I could tell right away she was drunk. So like normally I'll say, hey, let me get you a round of drinks, or if it's a professional customer or potential one, the old experience. Hey, let me get you some beverages. We'll have a good time, which usually works. But with her, I was like, I'm not getting this woman anything. And so then, like, certainly after she was like during the show, like just yelling like nonsense. Like we couldn't even understand what she was saying. And I would go over and say, hey, happy you're here, but if you can just be quiet, please, that'd be great. And after the show, she started eating food off of other people's plates. And the manager asked her to stop. And she took a swing at the manager and tried to and so she's like a 50-year-old woman and like not fit at all. And it took 18 Chicago police officers to get her out because she started flaming around, like grabbing chairs and trying to throw them. And it was crazy.
Oh
right?
my God.
Well, how am I supposed to deal with this? And so now I realize, like, I just have to address it. And like, when it's my show, if someone's out of control, like I talked to the manager after, we're like, okay, we just one warning and then people are done. Mm-hmm. And then like just that story, like the following week's show, I just said, hey, this is the system. One warning, you're done. I told that story. I wasn't anticipating that story being funny. I just relayed the story, like how it happened, and people loved it. And it made for a great show. And then it helped me a lot as a performer because I realized I can just tell a story. I don't need to punch it up. I can just be me. And that helped me a lot. So like in a weird way, this woman asked being totally ridiculous as a 50-year-old woman and led to me being more comfortable on stage and then being like, all right, this is how we work with things and like work with it and go with it and figure it out. And I just be me on stage. Like, crazy, man. I'm just trying to look for positives, Kyle. I know you're a big positive guy. So it's like always try and find the positive in the situation.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, all experience is good experience. And yeah, well, you got a lot of it. What you did, was it 400 mics in a year? Wasn't that what the tally was?
I did 1 year. I hit 450 mics.
Man, shit. That is
for
insane.
mics / shows. So
yeah,
the goal was to hit 500 before I left Chicago, but then obviously this hit it when I was at 481.
Oh dang!
So that's fine. I was like super great. The goal was 500 in a year for the year for 19.
Yeah.
There were definitely a few nights where I could have gone and I was just lazy. But I'm happy because by having that goal of 500, that got me out. And that would be like, all right, I need to go out. I need to do 3 tonight. I need to go do 2 tonight. I need to do this. Like, in opposed to being like, I'm just going to watch TV tonight. Yeah, I'm going to watch some more TV tomorrow night. And it's so easy, right? So easy.
Seriously.
Well, now you got to start all over. I feel it's like Ace Ventura when he does the slinky down the giant steps and he gets 2 from the bottom. He goes, "Oh, can we do it again?" So now you got to try it again next year and get 500.
Yeah, well, I mean, I got to do it all over in Colorado, man, because I'm not established at all other than the boat. Maybe.
Other than the boat,
but
your boat famous.
That in the Denver scene, I'm starting at zero. I mean, I'm starting at zero in the sense of nobody knows who I am. Mm-hmm. But I'm just going to repeat what I started here, create my own shows and create my own opportunities. And then the benefit of 481 mics is that I've developed a lot of material. And so I feel good about walking into the scene whenever it opens, whatever it looks like, with everything that I've been working on here. And because in Denver, it's brand new to everyone.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to remember sometimes, like when you've done a set 100 times. And it's like, yeah, there still are millions of people who have never heard it at all.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's a thing we all psyched ourselves out a lot, I think, at the beginning here. Because every show, everyone would be like, "Oh, well, it's all the same people. It's the same 20 people. So I got to come up with new material every week and try it one time and then do a whole nother set and try that one time." And I found that, because I was doing that for a little bit, and I found that I was like, no, like people actually like hearing these jokes. Like they don't actually listen to it. Even if they hear it once a month and they've already heard it, they're not going to be like, heard it. And so a lot of people here weren't getting enough practice because they weren't redoing the same sets. And so I've been, and every show I found that I do material I've done before, for every one person who's heard it already, there's 2 people who haven't,
Yeah.
So, that's somewhat related. I kind of went off on a little tangent there, but yeah.
No, man, that's good. Have you been as a host? Have you ever gone up and be like, you know what? I have no planned material. I'm just gonna just come up with whatever on the spot and talk with people.
A little bit. For some of the open mics, I'll kind of just more have a loose set and then kind of riff and do a little crowd work. Yeah. The crowd work I usually do is a little more in between sets. Usually my thing is for every person who comes up, I try to listen to their set and then I try to like come up with a joke that goes along with something they were talking about or that kind of thing.
Yeah, you're pretty good at that too. Like you usually can pick something pretty good.
Yeah, usually, or like someone will talk about like their weird experience, getting crabs, and I'll be like, hey, I had crabs too, or I don't know. But
sometimes it's such a stretch though. That's what makes it funny. Like, sometimes it's so shitty. That's why it's funny.
Keep it going for Miles Sanchez, everybody. Very funny. I gotta say, his set went pretty well overall. Killing it, you guys. Also, I hate to call people out in the crowd, but I know this guy kind of well. Lewis, who you called out over there? This guy? I just figured out who he looked like because it was bugging me. Do you guys remember at the beginning of Super Troopers when the kid gets pulled over and she jumps and he's like, I can't pull over any farther? That's who this guy looks like. Look at him. It's great. I love that movie.
Say Snosberry.
The Schnauzberries, that's like Schnauzberry. That's actually the other guy, but still, you get it. Thank you guys again for coming out. This is great. Always great turnout. Steamboat, you're so supportive of us. We really appreciate it. We're going to keep it going.
Yeah, I haven't gone out completely blank, but the crowd work thing is something I want to try to do more of. And it just kind of depends on our venue here. I am pretty excited. We just started going and doing mics at the whiskey company here, and because there's a distillery that just opened up, and they have a really cool new space. And I'm hoping if we can kind of get the seating right, that could be a really good, intimate little spot to do that kind of crowd work in.
Yeah, I do like that spot when there's a decent crowd.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like every spot where there's a decent crowd, but
I mean, yeah, but there's not always a decent crowd.
The layout of the room is important. If you can set up a nice intimate show, like you take a small, like the brewery show, you set it up just right, but you can take a small space, and if you can create a good setup, it makes a huge difference. I was running a show. I assume I'll still be running the show. There's a brewery called Goose Island Brewery here.
Oh, I know Goose Island. Yeah.
And they have a private room, and I was running a show out of that private room. And the first couple shows went great, and the result of like the attendance being so huge was because they had an actual marketing manager who was like getting the word out about the show, which was fun. So, anyways, we had it lined up. It's a rectangle room. If you might, we like just had it lined up with tables, just lined up, one table behind the other, like in rows, essentially. So it's like be a row of 8 people sitting next to each other, followed by like the table behind them and so forth, right? Okay. So we get 60 people. So then one show, we were only going to have like 20 people, I knew. And so I changed the setup of the room. So it was just a circle, like a half circle of chairs around the performance area. So, and like with the tables, it filled up the space, but it made it more intimate. And that was more enjoyable than having the room full of 60 people. Just because of that setup created a more intimate environment. People were closer, and it was a blast. And so, like, you got to get creative with the space. And sometimes if you have a space like at the Oak, right? We ran a year with the setup that you saw, Kyle, in the back of the room. And then it was another comedian, Tim Cox. He said, Pat, what if you did this? What if you moved it to the side here? And we tried it. We tried it for an open mic. The open mic went so well. We had 35 comics out of 37 do amazing at an open mic, which I had never experienced of running open mics every night, every week. And that was the first time I had. I go, I think we got something here just because of the setup of this room. And so we moved forward. But man, if you can create a cool space, it makes a huge difference in the show. And then it is more enjoyable, like with the crowd work as well.
Yeah, I can see.
That's a different animal. It's like, really, you just got to go and like, I can say whatever I want, and I'm going to have a good time with it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and I feel like just proximity makes it so much easier to get people on board if they're right there with you. You know what I mean? And that makes it easier to kind of jump
And then
in.
you're saying like with regards to like what you say, trying to build a joke. I find it so it's like my strategy is all right. If someone if they had an amazing set, they absolutely crushed it.
Mhm.
Then only if I have something amazing in a one sentence, it's got to be a one sentence, can't be two. Then I'll add it. But if not, my job is to keep the show going.
Yeah.
Great job. Next comedian. Here we go. If someone had a good set, then if I have something good, not great, good, I have like 2 to 3 sentences to work with. If it's a terrible set, then I take like a minute or two, depending on what I have to reset the
Try
room.
to bring the energy back up.
Bring it back or change it up, right? Because like I was saying, you're the voice of the audience as well. So if someone tanked, you're like, ooh, that was rough, right? Because the comedians understand that, if they don't, then fuck them. That's they don't get it. Like you got to get up. You have to make fun. You as a host, you have to make fun of the person or like their set and how badly it did or how badly they misread the room or whatever.
Yeah.
You're not taking a personal shot at the comedian. You're just addressing how poorly their material was received.
Right. You're addressing the elephant in the room, if nothing else.
Yeah, and then it gets people on board, and then they have a good time. And I realized that because I had 2 shows where comedians bombed, and I just didn't address it. I just go, and the next comedian, and because I totally chickened out, right? I just totally whipped out. I was like, and the next comedian, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I was still trying to figure it out, but that's if you just address it, it goes a long way, and you can even get the comedian to crack up.
Oh, sure. I think that can kind of take some of, not as it takes some of the pressure out of the room, but it takes some pressure off of them too. Just kind of like, hey, we're all laughing here, whatever, Sometimes you eat shit. What are you gonna do?
Well, I feel like that almost kind of wipes the slate clean when you do make fun of the comic, is because it's like everyone agrees, they're laughing, they're like, yeah, you're totally right. All right, what's this next guy got? They're not still thinking about the other guy that just bombed. It's like, okay, let's move on. We got it.
Sure.
On to the next one. And if you're running a lineup, if you're producing the show, it's on you to set up and what like what you believe. Like what's going to happen here. If you have someone you're not entirely sure of, you put them in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Start your show with one of your best comics, right? So you're off to a good start. You're up on the host. You're there. Hey, here I am. We're going to have fun. This is it. Maybe I'm going to talk to you for a little bit, but I'm not going to do too much time, the generals. And then I'm going to bring my first comic up. And my first comic is probably the second best comedian, in my view, on the lineup, because I want people to have a lot of fun. And I want this to be a good tone. Like I'm starting to be bringing the energy up. Mm-hmm. And now this is the first comic that you bring up is indicative of kind of how this is setting the tone for the show. You as the host, some people will argue the host, it's entirely on the host. I think the host is an in-between. And so if you're host producing, you put your second best comic first. You put your quote unquote weakest comic. You should never put a weak comic on, but like the lowest level in the middle, mm-hmm. and then maybe your third best comic right before the headliner. And then, just because you're creating a feel as a producer, you got to take everything into account and think, all right, this person's questionable. Like I've seen this person 50% of the time they crush it. Other 50% of the time they bomb. I'm going to put them right in the middle where I know there's 2 others coming up after them that are going to do well and get people totally forget about what happened.
Yeah,
for sure. I got one question for you. When you're hosting, producing these things, how much time do you give yourself as far as just like going through straight material, and like, do you do it all up front or do you spread it out? What's your technique for that?
When I started hosting, I had a goal of doing 4 new minutes for every show, but I was only doing 1 show a month, like actual show.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like shows, not open mics. Now, unless I have something amazing I've been working on, I just say I'm going to get up and I'm going to chat with the audience for a bit, just for a few minutes. I say 5 minutes. I'm on stage for the first 5 minutes, unless it's going really well. Like unless I find something, and I'll just ask, what do you do for work? What's going on? Simple questions. I'll go over it. If someone says something in the audience and I have a bit already prepared for that, then I might go into it. But I try for never more than 5 minutes to open on the shows that I put on.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's it. And it's just, and I getting up there with no plan is actually, and several comics told me that they're like, just get up there with no plan and see where it goes, and then like make stuff up. Like just talking to people in a direct way creates a lot of fun. Or you get a name of someone, right? You say like, hey, Sharon, right? What's your name? Sharon. What's been going on? You find out some information. And it becomes a game if it's a room of like, what do you think about that, Sharon? Or maybe she said something. And it creates this great group feel for the room that people really build off of. That's a part of the experience of everyone's in on this very unique moment and this group energy that's happening. And so, like, as the host, I feel like that's my responsibility to pull that information out for the other comedians to then work with. And myself, I can work with it as well. And so that's when I found those shows are the most fun for me to do. And also they seem to be the most enjoyable for like in terms of the comedians having a good time and then the audience having a blast as well, because it's unique to that show, right? If you can, and so I think my responsibility as a host is to find the unique elements of that moment for that hour and then make the most of it for everyone to have a good time instead of just bump, 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 bump onto the next.
Right, for sure. That's a good way to put it and a good way to frame it is you want to find ways to make each show its own unique experience because that's what people are going to remember. Like I actually went to a couple times. I went to Comedy Works in Denver. I'm sure you've ever been there before.
Yeah.
Great spot. And they do this thick skin night where it's like half pros and half amateurs. And I always sign up, but I never get in. Yeah. And oh my God, there's this one night. The guy hosting is a guy named Mike Stanley who's doing really well. And he's really funny. And there's this guy. Oh my God. It's this guy in the front row who was just like hammered and he kept blowing vape smoke up towards the stage. And oh my God, they just lit it. And like in between every comic, they were checking in with him. They were checking in with the people around him. Like, what do you think about this guy? And calling him out by name and stuff. And like, that's the most memorable part of that whole show to me. Cause it was you knew it was just the thing that would happen that night. You know?
Yeah.
Like that guy's probably, if he's smart, never going back there again. Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's like, I feel that as a host, that's your responsibility. And so, like when I host other people's shows, I just find it like, all right, I'm going to just pull information because if you go into a set and it's a full set, you have like, let's say 10 minutes and they're not on board, you're just setting other comedians, you're just making it more difficult for all the other comedians on the show.
Yeah.
And for the show as a whole, you're starting out with a total dud, as opposed to making it like a fun, participatory environment. And so when I realized that, I was like, yeah, the shows took a turn in the right direction, in a better direction. And for me as a performer, my confidence went way up. And it was a lot more fun for me too. Also, like, then I could just go to a show. Like, I don't have to have anything prepared. Like, I don't have anything to I can't get nervous about something that like, am I going to fuck this up? Because I'm just getting up and talking to people.
Right. Yeah.
And it's like, I'm cognizant of not just having a boring conversation, right? If it's a boring conversation, I'll be like, this is a boring conversation. I can see you're a real winner in the conversation.
Yeah.
Right. And move on to that. And then like people laugh at that, right? Because it's like, it's in one environment where it's encouraged to make fun of people.
Right. Yeah. And if a guy gets mad about it, it just makes it even more fun.
Yeah.
Fuck him, right? You give him fuck him. Who cares, right?
That is definitely something. That's something I definitely
make fun of them and move on to the next one. Like, don't be a dick face, but absolutely let it be known that certain things will not fly,
right?
And that other things are encouraged. And I think that's the role of the host.
Yeah. Heck yeah. I listened to it was a podcast that Mark Masters sent me because he said that you recommended it to him. It was a guy who runs a mic in Chicago, Comedians You Should Know.
Oh yeah, that's people say that's the best independent show. That's been running for like 9 years.
Yeah, I listened to a podcast with that guy, and he was talking about the way that he sets up shows and hosts and things like that. It was really good. So
good podcast. John McCombs put that together. What's he called? It's like talking about the business. Shit, I can't remember what it's called, but definitely good information for comedians. Yeah, I'm not going to try and guess it because that'll take me 10 minutes.
I can't remember what time I had either. It was really good though. So, yeah, I always really like talking to you and other guys who put together shows and your neck of the woods and try to compare to what it's like here. Obviously it's hard to compare Chicago and Steamboat Springs. We don't really have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's like, I'm so excited to start coming home. A lot of it was based off the experience I had with you guys and just seeing like,
thanks, man.
And Mark's show in Vail is a success.
Yeah, I've heard it's great. I haven't had a chance to make it down yet. I almost went to one.
We got to start doing a little back and forth on that.
Yeah, definitely. Trying to just get
I tanked hard on that show. After I did your guys' show at Steamboat, I was feeling like so good about myself and everything as a performer. And I was like, yeah, I can riff off the top. And I riffed off the top at Mark's show, and I fucking ate shit. In front of a bunch of my friends, too. Like, one of my buddies comes up after me. He's like, that guy after you, Pat? Real funny. You should tell stories like him.
Dude.
Like, thanks.
Thanks, dude.
Fucking awesome.
I was so proud of myself because I said, wow, like Vail, I love Vail. And I go, one of the few places, Colorado mountain towns, one of the few places in the world where you can still call another human being a raccoon and it's acceptable.
You ain't lying.
Total silence. Total silence.
Oh,
One
no.
person like kind of giggled, and I was like, kunais. And then I started explaining because it rocked me that no one laughed.
Right.
I was like, kunais, from skiing, guys, and nothing. And then like I had 20 minutes. And I lost most people in the first minute.
Oh no! Oh man!
With that one, but I'm excited to go back because, yeah, man, Colorado is just filled with communities that will love comedy and don't have access. I mean, Comedy Works is pretty much the only game in town, really.
Yeah, big time.
And yeah, there's like one other comedy club, but it's out in Aurora. I've never met one person who's gone.
Yeah,
born in Colorado.
We've done a couple smaller.
You guys got a great show in
nights.
Steamboat, but I'm like, I want to start creating shows around the Front Range area and just have live audiences. Because here in Chicago, it's a way different ball game. Just because it's a concentrated population in the city that has access to so many bars and restaurants and different night events they can go to.
Yeah.
As opposed to Colorado, where it's not, right? We're an outdoor culture.
Seriously.
Very spread out too, Yeah,
it's spread out. There's a large influx of people from places like Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They're moving to Colorado and they're missing the indoor culture that they are used to. So I'm probably the most excited, besides the mountains and skiing, to come home to just put on some awesome shows and perform for some great audiences. I'm super pumped about that.
Well, heck yeah, man. And we're looking forward to working with you. We'll see. We'll have to collaborate in the near future and put some things together.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, one of my best memories from all last year was your show.
Thanks,
the
man.
whole experience coming in, doing the podcast, moving for the hike that day, the podcast show. Fantastic. First class operation you guys have.
Thanks, man.
We do our best, man.
We're keeping it going as best we can. We got a lot of momentum we're riding, and just having people like you coming out just makes it all that much better,
Oh, guys.
No. Go for it, okay? All right, well, I guess it's about 45 minutes or so. We can wrap it up here.
Okay.
Thanks again, Pat. We appreciate it. Got any other parting words or things you want to plug?
Yeah, sure. I guess the old follow on Instagram, Real Funny Pat.
Mm-hmm.
And every night I'm doing every Monday through Fridays I'm doing the comedians in quarantine having cocktails. So I got some great guests coming up the next 2 weeks. I got every night with some bigger name comics that I'm excited. And Instagram Live, you can watch it while it's happening, or it stays up for 24 hours after. So,
well, if you want to get drunk with a smaller name, hit me up.
yeah. Hey, maybe, buddy. Even the next 2 weeks, sure.
Yeah. Shit, we can do it in person, maybe, if you come around these ways.
That'd be fantastic.
Heck yeah.
That'd be fantastic. So, but that'd be my only plug of the show. And, man, I just can't wait to get back out there and get up to the boat and hang out with you guys and do some comedy and just have a good time, man.
Beautiful. Awesome. Well, we appreciate everyone listening. Keep it tuned. Keep checking out steamboatcomedy.com. We got this guy on video if you just listen to it on audio now on our YouTube channel. That's about it.
Yeah.
And you said the Old Chief show is on steamboatcomedy.com?
Yeah. Steamboatcomedy.com has all the podcast links on our YouTube page and some live performances we've had as well. So, check it out if you're interested. Any new listeners, the first couple episodes was all about how we got started, and we got one early on actually right before our show with Pat and Mark Masters of Butcher Knife, and that was a great podcast too. But
that was a lot of fun. So.
Heck yeah! All right,
boys, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, sir, and we're looking forward to seeing you soon. Thanks everyone again for listening. We'll talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me, fellas.
Hell yeah!
Rain or shine, it's here to make you laugh. It's the Steamboat Comedy Podcast. It's the Steamboat Comedy Podcast.